Hello class, we are going to talk about the radius. Okay, so in this particular case, the radius is a specific kind of idea that's just measuring the distance between 2 points. Okay, so I'm just referring to it as the radius, but it could just be a length. So the radius is actually a length. Okay, and it's going to have some units, in this particular case meters, but it could be inches, it could be miles, it could be anything. So you have the radius of the earth, you have the radius of the sun, you have the radius of the earth about the sun. All right, and so typically a radius is going to represent the distance from, and I probably should do this, it's going to represent the distance from the center of a circle to its edge. So I'll just say R. And this is the primary thing that we are concerned with. Let me see if I can draw some straight lines in here. Maybe I'll make this a little bit smaller. All right, so we have, let's just call the red lines our coordinate system. Let's call this the X, and let's call this the Y. So we know that the Y is going to represent the vertical. We know that the X is going to represent the horizontal. Okay, so if we have these two axes, what we're going to refer to them as is the rectilinear coordinate system, which means that the axes are perpendicular to one another. I like to refer to it as a rectangular. So if I have a point here on the circle, we can define that point with X and Y. Once you have X and Y, you can define X, or you can define R in terms of X and Y. And so R in terms of X and Y is just as follows: R squared equals to X squared plus Y squared. Okay. Now what does that come from? It comes from this idea. Let me see if I can draw this for you guys. All right, I guess that's pretty good. So if we allow the bottom one to be X here, and if this side is X, if this is a perfect square, the other side is an X, so the area of this square is just the height times the length. We end up with X squared. If this is Y and this is Y, the area is going to be Y squared. If this is R and this is R, the area is going to be R squared. So Pythagorean's theorem basically says that the sum of the areas of the areas of the smaller two squares equals to the sum of the larger square. That's basically what's happening. So the sum of the two smaller squares, the areas of the smaller squares, equals to the area of the larger square. That's the same thing. So not to make it too much of a long story, you just have R is equal to the square root of X squared plus Y squared. So what is an example? An example is if X is equal to 3 and Y is equal to 4, we could also write it as X, Y equals to 3, 4. So if you see something written like this, you know that it's x, y. That means that r is equal to the square root of 3 squared plus 4 squared, which just equals to the square root of 9 plus 16, which is just the square root of 25. And that means that r is just going to be equal to 5. Famous 3, 5, 4 triangle. Okay? That's it.